Hi kids, I just wanted to let you know tonight I'm going to try to show you how to make layered biscuits. They are really fluffy, they'll be able to flake apart in the middle, so you can put all your jellies or jams or butter or whatever you want to put on them. They'll be really good. So let me show you what I got ready for the cook. Okay, so what we got here so far is some unbleached IP flour, all-purpose flour. I have some baking powder, I have some powdered milk, I have some salt, Himalayan sea salt. I have my milk. You can use any kind you want, but I'm using this one here to show you that you can do it. I have my unsalted butter here. I've got a couple tools out. I have my bowl, my butter that I'm going to be putting in between the layers. I'm going to melt this here in the microwave for a little bit, a pastry brush. This is what I'll be using to cut the biscuits with, and of course a spoon to be able to stir everything with. And over there I've got my skillet ready. My oven's preheating to 425, and in case you can't understand me very well, that's my abbreviated directions. So we're going to get started here in just a moment. Okay, so I took and I put in my bowl all my dry ingredients. I put in my butter. This is closer to 4 tablespoons versus 2, which is fine. And I don't really have the correct tool to take and incorporate the butter into the flour mixture, so that's why I'm just going to use a fork. So I'm going to take a moment here and get that incorporated into it. It's going to basically smash it into it. It's going to make little tiny balls. See, it's starting to form on there. And then as we slowly work that into flour, it'll take and get incorporated to where that butter will be throughout the entire flour mixture. And it's best just to kind of do it slow like this if you're doing it with a fork. If you've got a different tool, it'll go faster, but this still works just as well. It's another kitchen hack. But see how it's making little tiny balls there? That'll go throughout the flour as we mix it all up. So I'm going to keep working on this until it's done. It'll take a minute or two, so stand by while we get this working. All right, so I don't know if you can see that or not, but down in the flour, I'll try to get closer. You're going to see little tiny balls of that butter that we've incorporated into the flour, and that's good. That's what we want. Now we're going to start adding milk, and the reason I didn't tell you how much milk to use is because this is now a texture thing. You've got to watch how much you put in. Depends on humidity and all kinds of stuff too. So the best thing at this point is just to eyeball it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start pouring in a little bit at a time and start to incorporate it into the mix, and I'll show you how that goes. Okay, so I've put my first little tiny bit of milk in there, and as you can see, it's starting to clump together. And this is what you want. You want it to clump together, but you don't want it to turn into pancake mix. So you just add a little bit at a time, and then you keep stirring until it all starts getting moist together and starts sticking together. See how it's starting to do that? Okay, I'm going to keep going with this until I get it to where it'll stick into a ball. And a little bit more. And like I said, that's why I'm not telling you how much to use. It's really a texture thing. You've got to watch, because if you get it too moist, you end up with pancakes. And if you get it too dry, it will not start to flake together. See how it's doing? This is doing great. Okay, so we're getting close to the end here, and you might be tempted to add more milk than what you need, because if you can see on the bottom, there's still some dry stuff. This is when you need to be really, really aware of how much more you put in there, because if you can see down on the side over here, see, you can see right there, see it's kind of glistening and moist. It's because it is. We've not soaked up all the milk into the flour. So we want to take and stop at this point, make sure that we get it thoroughly incorporated, and then go from there. Okay, here we are. I started a little bit more. I did not add any more milk because you see what happened? It started lifting everything off the side of the bowl. That's what you want. It's going to start forming a ball. And now we're going to take and flour our breadboard that I got here and then dump this out on it and get ready to prep the biscuits. Okay, so I've got my breadboard out. I've generously coated it with flour, and I got my bread dough on here. And what I'm going to start to do now is slowly work it here a little bit. Not much. And then I'm going to flatten it out. Okay. I'm going to flatten it out like this. And then I'm going to take my butter that we melted in the microwave, and I'm going to take and brush it with my pastry brush like this. Okay. Get a nice good coat of butter on it all over. Okay. And then I'm going to fold it in half and do this again. So be right back with you here in just a moment. Okay, so I've done all the multiple times I'm going to do this. I folded it and I butter it and I fold it and I butter it and I squash it out in between. You're going to have to watch underneath your breadboard to make sure that the bread doesn't stick to your dough. Your dough doesn't stick to your breadboard when you do that. That's the only thing you got to watch out for. Sprinkle a little bit of extra flour underneath if you need it. That'll keep it from sticking. But I'm getting ready to cut this and I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. Okay, so I've got my bread dough together here. As you can see from my finger, it's about a 1/2 inch thick, and you can see some of the layers around the edge here from where we folded it and buttered it in between. I have a little small cup here, holds about 8 ounces, but that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to dip it in my flour back here, flour it at the bottom, and start cutting everything out. So I'm going to just kind of line it up here at the edge and cut out little guys like that and get them ready for our skillet. So I'm going to do that in between each time. This flour, cut them, and then I'm going to pop them onto the griddle that I have ready for in the oven. Here we go. Back in a moment. Okay, so the first round of cutting is done, and I got a layer of them already in my pre-greased griddle, and this is what I have left over. So what I'm going to take and do with this is just squish it all together, put another layer of butter on it, fold it over, and cut it again. Okay, so they're all cut and they're all in the skillet. This is where you have a choice. You can either butter the tops of them before you put them in there, or you can take and cover them with a little bit of avocado oil if you like the crust nice and golden brown on the top, which I do. So I'm going to probably use whatever leftover butter I have just to put a little layer on top of them, and then I'm going to stick them in the oven. And I'll show you what that looks like before they go there. Okay, that's what they look like. All I did was use what leftover butter I had from it, the bowl that I was using for the layers, and also what was left over in my pastry bars. But I'm getting ready to throw these guys in the oven for about 7 minutes or so. I'll check them, maybe 10. We'll see how it goes. Okay, kids, here's a kitchen hack. When you use your breadboard after you get done cleaning it, you need to do a couple things. You need to towel dry it, and then you need to stand it up upright. Don't let the thing lay down when you put it away. That's damage to your board. So clean it, dry it, stand it upright on its edges so it can dry properly. All right, they just came out of the oven. Let's take a look and see what they look like. Well, there they are. Look how fluffy they have gotten. Let's see if you can see that. See the different layers in there? That'll be perfect. So I'm going to put them on a plate, get them ready for dinner. Hope you enjoy. Be blessed. Okay, there they are. Nice and pretty. I'll put a little bit of butter or something on there, maybe some pear butter or whatever you like. Anyhow, I hope you enjoy.